Welcome to another Zen Talk. My name is Mark, and today we'll be talking about Zen Lifestyle. So the problem: many people live a chaotic and cluttered life that only invites disaster, that brings emotions, that brings anger, that brings wars, death, and destruction. Well, that sounds very ominous. However, it seems to be the way of the world, that when we see it all around us, the chaotic and the cluttered lives that just seems to make a lot of noise and brings a lot of confusion. And that confusion and noise seems to invite disaster. And those bring emotions and a lot of feelings, blaming and anger. So yes, that brings a lot of anger because of the noise, because of the disaster, and that brings wars because somebody's always to blame for the chaotic and cluttered lives, and that's death and destruction, which nobody wants. So I have a little the meme here of Yoda, that fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger leads to hate leads to suffering. And even though it's Yoda, it is a very Zenic saying. So a lot of people, when they kind of realize that, the chaoticness of their life, or what that sort of lifestyle brings, they want to live the simple life. So Zen promotes a simple lifestyle with a single purpose, that of mindfulness. Mindfulness can be said to be sort of like a meditative way of doing things. The Zen lifestyle is to promote the Zen meditation, known as Zazen in Japanese, and reduce distractions and hindrances to the Path of Zen. So it is an attractive lifestyle to many, especially those that have suffered in a chaotic and in a chaotic life, full of distractions. So, is it possible to live a simple life? That's a very interesting question. So, there are some means and ways of living a simple life. So basically, you just want to live a simple life, and you say, I'm done with the hamster wheel. I'm done with this corporate view of how I should live my life. I'm done with the materialistic accumulations, or you're just saying, that none of that works for you. So, but you still have to pay your bills. So work enough to pay your bills if you have to. When I lived in a Zen center, I drove a school bus for maybe 4 hours a day. It was enough to pay my bills. I worked as a janitor one time for a little while, and what else did I do? I worked at a KFC, and again, it was enough to pay my bills. Now, if you have a benefactor, or you have family money or money saved up, and you have enough to last you for the rest of your life and don't have to work, then all the better. Reduce your distractions. This world is filled with distractions. You can't even step outside your front door without a distraction. So reduce or eliminate TV, which I think is the biggest distraction. Even the internet's a distraction. Even this video might be a distraction. Radio, cell phones, computers, these all can be distractions in the greatest ways. So eat simply. Vegetarianism is not mandatory. Just eat healthy and cheaply. Vegetarianism in Buddhism, this is a very debated aspect. Is Buddhism truly a vegetarian cult? And the answer is no. Vegetarianism is something that is a political aspect of Buddhism. The Tibetans are not vegetarians, and you will find other Buddhist sects that are not vegetarians. It's a political aspect of Buddhism that seems to come and go, that is promoted or demoted depending upon who's ever in charge of doing the translations, or in charge of in command. So, but generally, meat in the old world, that would be meats without refrigeration, can become very toxic after a time, and meats that were improperly stored or improperly cooked or just can kill people. So, again, Buddhists want to live a long life so that they can achieve enlightenment, and dying early because you ate bad pork is not a good idea. And it is said that the Buddha was fed bad pork. That would be the Siddhartha Buddha, and that's what he died from. It wasn't poison. It wasn't mushrooms, as later that was changed to be. Wearing simple clothing, I find that thrift shop clothing is adequate. You don't need to wear robes. You don't need to, say, oh, I have to go wear Zen robes or a yellow robe or whatever you want to wear. You don't have to do that. Just clothing to match the culture that you're in is fine. And you don't have to go buy the most expensive clothing, but you can buy thrift shop clothing will do fine. Avoid needless spending. That would be just buying things, junk and medallions. I think that goes without saying. So, and devoting your free time to meditation, reading, ceremony, if you want to. That's more a religious aspect of Zen. If you want to be, if you want to do that, and make it a routine of your everyday life. Some hindrances and obstacles to living the lifestyle. So the goal is to live a lifestyle that allows you to focus on the path of Zen. So we want to be aware of making an ego out of the path of Zen. This is a huge one right here. I think a lot of Zen students can get caught into this ego making of Zen and be stuck in this for years, if not decades, until they figure out that is the problem. And I have heard many people gone 20, 30 years as a Zen student only to understand that the ego of the path of Zen was the problem, and they literally have to figure that out, like even leave the Zen center to get out of that. Turning yourself into a clown, that would be the Zen LARPing. I'm not even sure what to say about this because I've seen it. It's when people are appropriating a Japanese temple culture in of where it is so foreign to everything around them. They literally turn themselves into a clown. I've seen this with other paths, some of the more Indian paths. Who are those? The Hare Krishna, where they turn themselves into a clown, and they make an ego out of it, and it's all part of this live action role playing aspect of Zen that tends to happen. Alienating those around you. They see you as weird, troubling, or even dangerous, and this depends maybe on where you're at or the culture around you. This is something that you need to be aware of. Is if I'm being seen as different, what will my neighbors think? Will they call the cops? Will they go to the HOA and get me kicked out? It's these things you have to take into consideration. And a lot of Zens, I've seen this a lot, they're blaming others, anger at society or the politics. And I've been to a lot of Zen centers where, again, this sort of anger at society or the politics of the society as to why they can't follow the path of Zen comes up quite often. Okay. We're back again. So we got to choose wisely. If we're going to walk the path of Zen, so not all places are conducive or hospitable to the Zen path lifestyle. Cities with high rent, taxes, or other conditions may prevent you from a simple lifestyle. Areas where the indigenous culture is openly hostile to outsiders. And you'll this last part here is you'll see this sometimes in a town where they are very devoted. They have or intolerant to anything to outsiders, or they're intolerant to beliefs that are not theirs. And I've seen a lot of trouble. Zen centers claim a lot of trouble with the locals about their existence. And then people who choose to adopt a Zen lifestyle like existence are just that they just can't. It's just not conductive to where they are currently at. So you may have to move, or you may have to consider alternatives to the lifestyle. So keep that in mind. So a lot of times when somebody lives the simple lifestyle, the Zenic life, you may want to pick up some hobbies and some crafts, or even some trade work, gardening, sewing, woodworking, teaching, writing videos, maybe like what I'm doing here, providing a study space for others. If you have the ability to open up a Zen center and you want to invite others to come in and meditate and study Zen with you, maybe you have the ability to do that. There's no reason why you can't. Research in other religious works. I know other people that live the simple life, but they are scholars. They translate Pali, they read Sanskrit, they do a lot of work in bringing a more clear and uncluttered teachings to people. And there may be other things that you can do to live a simple life, that would help you focus. And a lot of these things, like gardening, sewing, woodworking, you can apply a lot of the mindfulness, the meditation in action to these things. All right, and that's the end of my talk. Again, thank you for listening, and remember to like and subscribe.